Good morning, all. Okay, we'll continue our book reading this morning, The Toyota Way to Service Excellence by Jeffrey K. Leica and Karen Ross. Okay, last week in chapter 1, still on chapter 1, what is service excellence? We looked at what is service organization and how we define excellence. The book defines service excellence as a service that is consumed at a point of sale. It also defined service as an intangible commodity or intangible service that is given to a customer or a client at that initial stage when he or she is interacting with you. It also gives us examples of services like hairstyling, surgery, psychological counseling, and personal training, or your gym fit personal training. All these are intangible services that are consumed by customers at the point of sale. So, in summary, as of last week, what service excellence or what service organization is, or what does service mean in an organization? It simply means the kind of experience you give to your customer at the point of sale, at that initial period when you're meeting them. What kind of services do you give them? It also states that it is important that they are comfortable and they have a good experience so that they will come back for repeat purchase, or also refer you or your product and items to other people, friends and families that they meet out there. So today, still on chapter 1, what is service excellence? We'll be looking at how manufacturing and services are different. How manufacturing and services are different. It's when we try to teach lean to service organization using Toyota as an example. A typical response is, we do not make cars. We provide an intangible service, which is very different. How can we learn anything from an automotive company? Is it true that service and manufacturing companies are so different that they cannot learn from each other? Year after year, Richard Daft's Organization, Theory and Design is the best-selling textbook for organizational design courses. And he apparently thinks the differences between manufacturing and services are huge. Daft describes services as intangible and says that they cannot be served for later use. He describes services as labor and knowledge intensive with high customer interaction and a human element that is very important. Some of the other distinctions seem to be based on outdated stereotypes of manufacturing. For example, Daft says the human element in manufacturing is less important than in service. But in lean, at least the Toyota Way version, team members working productions are at the center of continuous improvement. I'll take that again. At least the Toyota Way version, team members working production are at the top center of continuous improvement that drives the enterprise. Daft says longer response time are acceptable in manufacturing, but in just-time idea is one-piece flow with no delays. It seems clear that from the perspective of lean, this kind of dichotomies are oversimplifications. Consider an electric and power company. It provides a tangible product that can be inventoried. It is capital intensive. There is little customer interaction with the power plant, so the human element is less obvious to the customer and quality is directly measurable. So in most regard, it is more like manufacturing than a service. Things become even more fuzzy when we consider an entire enterprise. Think about a hospital. Carey made a highly simplified sketch in figure 1.6. The areas shaded seem to better fit that manufacturing column than the service column areas like the pharmacy, the laundry, the pathology labs that test tissue samples, and the department that maintain all the complex equipment and facilities. Also, if you consider other lines who move people and things around the hospitals, they are very much like material handlers in manufacturing. In fact, there seems to be as much materials moving about the hospital as we have seen in most manufacturing plants. And those materials need to be ordered, delivered, stored, moved to where they will be used and disposed of. Sounding more like a manufacturing all the time. Jeff, had an interesting experience during a visit to the Toyota Memorial Hospital in Japan. I had heard they were applying Toyota principle in a service environment. I was accompanied on a tour by two senior Japanese managers who showed me the material flow system. All materials used by doctors or nurses were carefully laid out. For example, in well-labeled drawers with addresses for their location. Common small items like syringe were in a see-through bags and were easy to locate. Even more interesting in the bag was a small laminated card which Toyota calls Kanban. The information on the cards includes the parts numbers and the description of the parts, its location for the users and location in the warehouse, and the number of syringes in the bag. As we were going through the drawers, a material delivery person came by with a cart on wheel and replenished what had been used and took the cards for items that were getting low so he could replenish those on the next trip. I asked the two managers what their background was and they explained. Before coming here, we worked for many years in Toyota factory as material flow managers. One week, we got notified to start new jobs on the next Monday in the hospital. We thought that was a mistake. But once we were here, we saw there were thousands of materials moving through the hospital just like parts in Toyota factory. We could apply all the same principles to make the flow more efficient and get to our customers the right materials in the right place at the right time. We were able to clear out about half the warehouse and improve customer service. In our experience, any service organization has elements that looks like manufacturing, even though these may be invisible to customers. Customers going to the supermarket see what is stored in inventory on the store shelf, usually attractively presented, and they may ask a question of a service representative, or they may directly deal with the cashier if that process has not been automated. The customer rarely see the pallets of materials in an internal warehouse that gets unloaded from a truck, nor do they see the pallets broken down or the product brought out late in the evening to be restocked on the shelf and presented to the customers the next day. They do not see the routine physical processes of money, and somewhere in the back office is an accountant keeping track of all the numbers. On the other hand, take a walk through a manufacturing plant and you're likely to see large office area where people are purchasing things, coordinating shipments, planning, answering customer calls, performing finances and accounting function, coordinating insurance, and engaging in countless other services. In some large facilities, there are even doctors and nurses providing medical care to employees, and there may be a pharmacy. In short, it is often more useful to consider differences across functional groups within manufacturing and healthcare system, or even differences in individual jobs, than it is to treat manufacturing and services organization as different animals. We still might define an organization in terms of the core of what it does. If the core work is to create a tangible product for sale, then we could classify it as a manufacturing business. If the core work is to service customers by making it easy to assessing something they need, as in the case of Amazon, or by directly improving their health or well-being, we could classify it as a service. We often see in manufacturing organization that services are support functions to manufacturing. Manufacturing is the foreground and servicing is the background. In service organization, we see the customer service process in the foreground and the manufacturing as support functions in the background. Perhaps instead of thinking of service versus manufacturing for the purpose of improving, it is more useful to think in terms of the complex of the work. Customization of work, how routine, steps, sequence, time is the operation, low, versus how specific is that unique situation. Intangibility of work, how much can we physically see the transformation process versus how much do we need abstract way to describe things. Okay, so this is where we'll stop for our reading this morning. Say how are manufacturing and service industry different. So from our reading today, we can see that they have slight difference. Each is performing their own services in a different way. The manufacturing company or manufacturing departments, how they provide their services is to help put together products that will be given to customers. Why in the service industry is where you have customers attending to clients, the cashier, the sales representative, the accountants doing financial accounting and the rest of it. So that is just the difference between manufacturing and the service industry. Everybody's doing a service either by producing something or by actually giving something or a product or a service to someone who will need these products. Like it said in the use the hospital to give an examples. You don't actually see people who gather or who put together the syringes and package them and put them on the shelf and anything. But what you take note of or what you see in the background is when you go to the counter or a pharmacist to get something, to get a syringe or to get a drug, and they're already giving it to you, and they're already giving you, you're having a service and experience, but you do not see the people that package it. So manufacturing is like a background kind of thing, why customer service is like the forefront. That is where you meet your customers and tends to give them quality or an excellent customer service. So in summary, it's just a slight difference between the manufacturing industry and the servicing industry. So that is it for our reading this morning. Thank you.